Kovac had a typical upbringing, growing up in a suburb, attending Catholic school, and playing soccer. But her life after high school isn't typical, all because she chased her dreams in the fashion industry.
It's been a wild 3 years, I want to say. I started kind of getting into fashion. Well, I've been into fashion my whole life. I have a Croatian-born mother, and she's very European, and her style's great. And so I think that kind of like manifested in me. I don't think I've ever remembered a time that I wasn't into it, but it really became a thing my freshman year of college when everyone was like trying to look at internships, and my parents were like trying to make me get down the economics route, and that was my major for a while, and I quickly realized that's not what I wanted to do. And a lot of people, when I asked for advice, were like telling me you have to do something that I guess you do in your free time and try to make that into a career in order to really succeed. And I thought a lot about it, and the one thing I did a lot was research the fashion industry, and it was more, I always say it's more cerebral instead of like just surface level. And so when I told my parents I really needed to switch to English, we had this huge conversation about it. They were like, what can you do with that? And I had to like pull out all these like profiles of people who worked in fashion that majored in English and have done things like PR and events and whatnot. And so then I kind of did a lot of LinkedIn searching to find internships, but also like Google searching. I was like 8 million pages deep in Google, looking up designers and people that worked for designers. And I came across who ended up being my boss, a post she put online about a PR and social media internship at Rebecca Minkoff. And this was like hours into searching, and so I shot her an email, and she got back to me so quickly, and then from then on it just kind of turned into a thing. The next day I think I had an interview, and it turned into a job.
And during your first internship, what were some challenges you had to overcome, and what did you learn?
So my first internship with Rebecca, that was really like my first glimpse into what it's like in fashion. I think a lot of people, especially in the Midwest, think of Devil Wears Prada when they think of, oh, you work in fashion, and that's kind of what I had in mind going into it, unfortunately. But it's really not the case. I think I didn't really have any difficulties. I learned so much. I was doing a lot of sample trafficking, which is where I don't know if a lot of people know this part of fashion, but there's a thing called a fashion editor, and they basically curate like the whole shoot in a magazine. They pick the outfits, the models, the hair, everything. And so with that is like a market editor, and they'll call in the clothing pieces. They'll reach out to designers like Rebecca Minkoff, be like, do you have this, 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 this? And so my job was to like find that, take pictures of it, send it out, go back and forth. And so I just learned a lot about like how the industry works, and I didn't really know a lot of that existed, but it was a learning experience in and of itself.
Which then led her to working New York Fashion Week.
After my first internship at Rebecca Minkoff, I came home, and then she offered me a job with their runway show, and so I was kind of looking and seeing who else I could work with for New York Fashion Week, and Jonathan Simkai I admired for a long time, and I really wanted to work for him. I basically was like a PR social media intern for 2 weeks for them during Fashion Week, and that was just a lot of like, I don't know, in fashion, I guess there's a part of it that's just a lot of grunt work, and it's just like making sure the samples are in, doing the dirty work, all of that, and that's what I was doing for 2 weeks. And I love that now. I've come to love that. It's a lot of, I guess for what I was doing, there was a lot of model castings and just like literally fitting models in this tiny like room that you could barely breathe in. And then celebrities would come in who attend front row for him and get their fittings done.
So what was the best part about Fashion Week for you?
Fashion Week, I've been a few times now, and so there's so many memories about Fashion Week, so many like after parties that I once thought were so far off, and then I suddenly was like being invited to attend with the teams I worked with. My favorite memory would have to be, I would say the Jonathan Simkai after party, that first Fashion Week season I attended. And we all pulled up in like this black car and went to I think it was at the Maid Hotel, which was a newly opened hotel in New York. And I remember like checking my name in and going up with my friend, and it was like the 50th floor or something, and this beautiful view of the Empire State Building. And then Aluna George came and was singing, and it was just a giant party, and I had so much fun.
Throughout her visits to New York, she made it a priority to network, which led her to a spot at Vogue and the opportunity to work the Met Gala.
So what did you exactly do at the Met Gala?
Yeah, that was the craziest experience ever. Leading up to it, it was a lot about like invitations, making sure everything was perfectly stacked, sending it out. It's very meticulous, and it has to be for something as grandiose as that. A lot was done with Anna Wintour, and the director of special events and the manager, to do the seating chart, which literally is changed up until like a few hours before it starts. And it's kind of like I wouldn't say political thing, but it's definitely weighed on who Anna and other people think would be good to merge together,
okay.
Who should sit next to who, that sort of thing, to get things flowing, whether it's like putting an actress next to a designer so that they can maybe collaborate for a gown for the Oscars. So things like that. During the actual event, I really didn't think I was going to be like outside. I thought I was going to be inside doing something in like the basement. I don't even know. And I ended up being like on the carpet, and she was like, "You have to go get Mucha Prada, get her in." And I was like, "What?" And so I ended up going like up and down the carpet nonstop, leading people up and down and up and down. And my parents afterward were sending me videos of me like actually on the TV, like going up and down. I was like, oh geez, this is horrible. To like see yourself like so stressed out going up and down, but it was actually really special to see afterward, and it was really crazy to be meeting all those people in one event. And then during, when all the doors close and the press can't go inside, it's just like a giant party, and everyone has dinner, and you kind of just help answer questions for people. I remember Blake Lively was like, "Where's the bathroom?" I was like, "Oh my God, it's still left." Like, you know. But yeah, it was really special, and still, I think it'll always be the most incredible experience I've ever been a part of.
She even attended the Tony Awards for Vogue.com.
Who inspires you?
It's a tough question. A lot of people. If we're talking big names, I would say, as I mentioned in my book, Jenna Lyons immensely. She was the creative director and president of J. Crew for like 26 years, and I've gotten to know her a little bit through like personal exchanges on the street. I'll be like, "Jenna!" But she really taught me a lot about myself personally. She came out after she was in like a marriage with a man, and I think like that was the turning point in my life personally, because here was this woman who I admired deeply on a career level, and she came out, and I was struggling with it a lot throughout my life, and I didn't really have the representation to be able to say like, "Oh, that's me," because I think a lot of women I just didn't identify with. I again was like, it's all about stereotypes, unfortunately, but I was like into fashion and more feminine, and then I didn't see myself in other people, so I was like, "Oh, I can't be gay, whatever." So when Jenna came out, I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, this is like, a thing." And then I wrote my coming out story online for an article, and she ended up commenting, and we've gone back and forth about it. Actually, she messaged me on Instagram. She was like, "I read your story. I just want to say it really touched me." And I was like, likewise, like she was a huge part of allowing me to even just come out or like realize it within myself. So I would say, in terms of giving advice to younger people, the biggest thing I can say is don't think about what anyone else thinks of you, because that was the hardest thing for me. It was after I had done things like the Met Gala and the Tonys and New York Fashion Week, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, will this like diminish those?" Mm-hmm. Well, when I come out, are people gonna be like, "Oh, she's gay"? Like, will it like dampen those successes? And I realize now that's so stupid to think, but it's a real fear for people. So I would say, if you're safe and able, do it, and don't let other people kind of negate that experience for you. Just try to think about how great it will feel afterward, and I don't know, just be authentic. I think just be weird. I just love weird people, and so if there's something special or unique about you and you feel the need to express that, do it, and just don't care what anyone else thinks.
And once you came out and were open,
Yeah.
How did you feel?
So I think most people know. I don't know if everyone knows, but after I told my parents, I would say like immediate family, things like that, it felt like I could really like be myself. I know it's really cliche to say, but I describe it as like a glass wall, in the sense that you can see them, people that are gay, before they come out, but you don't see all of them. And it's just true. Once I told my parents, my family, and it took them a while to get adjusted to the idea, which unfortunately that's a thing. But after that, our relationships got deeper and stronger, and I wouldn't change the situation. I think they've grown more too in that sense. Like, they're definitely less judgmental of like everybody, and my dad especially, my mom, my sisters, I think they like this version of me now than ever before, and so it's a freeing feeling. There's not to say that there's days where you still feel like a little bit down or about it, but I think like that just comes with like where you are, and if you're in a more conservative area it can be more difficult, but when I'm in New York it's like the best thing ever. So yeah, I would say it's just great to be authentically you, and so coming out definitely aids in that.
Katarina is finishing up her college career at the University of Michigan. Her goal is to work somewhere where she is able to bring technology and fashion together.